The human enters the forbidden zone. Rhett Carson had seen many strange places in his life. He had fought in wars, traveled through deep space, and worked as a scavenger in forgotten ruins. But this place, this broken, floating wreck in the middle of a dead zone, felt different. He stood at the edge of his ship, staring out through the cracked window. Ahead of him was a massive alien warship, half buried in a floating asteroid field. Its body was torn open. Fires no longer burned, but dark smoke still curled from its broken parts. It looked like a giant metal beast, wounded and forgotten. His computer blinked red. Warning: no life signs detected. Structure unstable. Rhett ignored the warning. He needed parts. His ship had lost power in the last battle, and without fuel cells or wiring from a similar engine, he would die out here. There was no choice, and he had heard rumors. Rumors that the warship had once belonged to the Zarathi Empire, and it carried more than just weapons. He took a deep breath, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped into the docking tunnel. As the airlock hissed open, he felt the change in air pressure. The smell hit him first. Old, stale, metallic. It smelled like blood and rust. Inside it was dark. His boots echoed as he walked slowly through the hallway. The walls were covered in strange symbols, burned into the metal. Chains hung from hooks, some were broken. Others were still tight with dried stains he didn't want to look at. Suddenly, a soft sound broke the silence. A whisper. It came from deeper inside the ship. Rhett froze. He turned off his flashlight and listened. The whisper came again. Soft, scared, and not in any language he knew. He turned the light back on and moved carefully forward. The hallway opened into a chamber. It looked like a prison. The walls had cages, some empty, some destroyed. In the center of the room were two figures, two alien women. They were chained to a wall, their arms above their heads. Their clothes were torn, barely covering them. Their skin was marked with bruises and glowing scars. Their eyes were large, shining in the light. They looked up as Rhett entered. One of them flinched. The other spoke. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "Don't hurt us. We thought we were alone." Rhett stepped back, shocked. His mind raced. The ship was supposed to be empty. Were these survivors? Prisoners? He raised his hands slowly, to show he meant no harm. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "I'm human. My name is Rhett." "Who are you?" The second woman stared at him. Her eyes were yellow with long lashes. Her voice was soft like a song. "I am Saley," she said. "This is Lyra. We were taken, sold, chained to this ship years ago." Lyra, the first woman, didn't speak. She just looked down, her eyes full of fear. Rhett looked at the chains. Thick, sharp metal bound their arms and legs. He stepped closer. "Let me help you," he said. Lyra tensed. "Humans hurt us before." "I won't," he said gently. "I swear." He took out his toolkit and worked fast. The chains were old but still strong. He had to cut carefully. As he worked, he noticed the burns on Saley's wrists. Some looked recent, others were ancient. "Why are you still here?" he asked quietly. Saley's voice broke. "The ship. It lives. It breathes. It keeps us here. It feeds on fear. On pain. We tried to escape, but the doors closed. We gave up. We thought we would die here." Rhett paused. A ship that was alive? He had heard of such technology. The Zarathi used bioships, machines mixed with living matter, but most had been destroyed in the war. "Why didn't anyone come for you?" he asked. "No one dares enter this zone," Saley said. "They call it cursed, haunted. You are the first in years." Rhett finally cut Lyra free. She fell into his arms, weak and cold. Saley followed. Suddenly a loud thump shook the walls. The lights flickered. The ship groaned. Saley grabbed his arm. "It knows you're here." Rhett looked toward the hallway. Something had changed. The air felt heavier. The ship wasn't just metal anymore, it was watching. He grabbed both women's hands. "We have to move. Now." They limped out of the chamber together, leaving the chains behind. But the warship had only just awakened, and it wasn't going to let them go easily. The wreck that breathes. The hallways had changed. Rhett noticed it the moment they stepped out of the prison room. What was once cold metal now looked different. The walls had grown darker like old skin. The floor was soft under his boots, almost like flesh. A low hum vibrated beneath their feet, like the sound of breathing. Saley was limping. Lyra leaned on Rhett, her eyes darting in every direction. Fear was heavy in the air. "The ship is awake now," Saley whispered. "It sleeps when it is empty, but when someone new comes inside, it wakes." Lyra finished softly. Rhett held his weapon, tighter. He had faced enemies before, machines, monsters, and worse, but nothing felt as wrong as this. This ship wasn't just a tool of war. It was alive, angry, hungry. They reached a sealed doorway. Rhett tried the control panel, but it sparked with red light and hissed. Access denied. Then the wall beside them pulsed. A slow ripple ran across it like something underneath was moving. Rhett stepped back. "This ship. It doesn't want us to leave," he said. Saley looked at him with hollow eyes. "We tried to escape once. The ship made the wall shift. It trapped us. Then, it punished us." Rhett clenched his jaw. "Not this time." He pulled out a short blade and stabbed it into the panel. Sparks flew. The door creaked. With a loud groan, it slid open. A foul stench hit them immediately, like rotting meat and burnt oil. Inside was a long corridor. Pipes ran across the ceiling like veins. Strange. Pods lined the walls filled with green liquid. Rhett glanced inside one and froze. Inside was a body, a humanoid floating with eyes closed. Its skin was pale gray. Wires and tubes pierced through its body. "This is a lab," he muttered. "A genetic lab. They were making something here." Lyra trembled beside him. "They made beasts, soldiers, toys." Rhett understood. This warship was once part of the Zarathi pleasure fleet, known across galaxies for mixing war and slavery. The women weren't just prisoners, they were survivors of something far worse. Suddenly, a slam echoed behind them. The door had shut. The lights flickered red. Something moved. From the far end of the hallway, a shape stepped into view. Tall, twisted, a mix of metal and bone. It had no face, just a gaping hole where a mouth should be. Its claws scraped the wall as it walked. Saley gasped. One of the failed experiments. Rhett didn't wait. He pulled his weapon and aimed. The creature charged. Rhett fired. The blast hit the beast in the shoulder. It screamed but didn't stop. It ran faster. Rhett threw himself to the side as it swung at him. Sparks flew as its claws hit the wall. Lyra pulled Saley away, hiding behind a storage crate. The creature turned to them. "Hey!" Rhett shouted, firing again. This time the shot hit its leg. The beast fell, roaring in pain. Rhett didn't stop. He leapt forward and jammed his blade into its chest. Green liquid burst out. The creature twitched, then stilled. Silence returned. Rhett stood, chest rising and falling fast. His arms were shaking. "What was that?" he asked. Saley came forward, tears in her eyes. "That used to be one of us." Rhett looked down in horror. "She was broken," Saley said. "They turned her into a thing, then locked her here when she failed." Lyra hugged her tightly. "That's why we begged you. No one else ever came back." Rhett nodded slowly. He now understood the kind of place he had walked into. This wasn't just a shipwreck. It was a tomb for the forgotten. But he wasn't leaving them behind. "Let's move," he said. "We need to find the core. If we kill the ship's AI, maybe we can escape." "The AI is deep inside," Saley warned. "But the closer you go, the more the ship fights back." I don't care, Rhett said. I came for parts. But now? I'm not leaving without both of you. The women looked at him with surprise. No man had said that to them before. Together they walked deeper into the warship, and behind them, the ship closed its eyes and smiled. Past too painful to speak. The hallways were getting tighter. Rhett had to duck as metal pipes arched low over his head. The walls were warm now, not like machines, but like skin. The air smelled damp, like sweat and rot. Every sound echoed strangely. Every few steps something shifted behind them, just out of sight. Rhett glanced back. You two okay? Saley nodded weakly, though her face was pale. Lyra didn't answer. Her eyes were wide, staring at something no one else could see. She hasn't spoken since the lab, Saley whispered. She'll be okay, Rhett said gently. We're getting out of here. But in his gut, he wasn't sure anymore. They stopped in a small room filled with old beds and cracked mirrors. It looked like a crew sleeping quarter, but twisted. Chains were bolted to the bed frames. Scratches covered the walls, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Let's rest here, Rhett said, setting his pack down. We need a plan. Saley helped Lyra sit on a soft bench. The silence felt too heavy. Finally, Saley spoke. Do you want to know what this place really was, human? Rhett turned slowly. If you're ready to tell me. She took a deep breath. This was not just a warship. This was a pleasure prison for the Zarathi generals. They captured our kind and brought us here. They said we were gifts. Love slaves, they called us. But it was never love. Rhett sat beside her quietly. They broke us, she continued. One by one. We were fed lies, promised freedom. They said if we obeyed, they'd let us go. Her voice cracked, but they never did. They just threw away the broken ones. She looked toward Lyra, whose hands were shaking. Lyra trusted a human once, a traitor. He promised to help us escape, but he sold us back. For fuel. Rhett's hands curled into fists. That's not who I am. I know, she said softly. You haven't touched us. You fight for us. That's why she's confused. She's waiting for you to turn into a monster like the others. Rhett nodded, understanding. He didn't blame her. Then I'll keep proving I'm not one. Suddenly Lyra spoke, barely a whisper. Why? Do you care? Her voice was fragile, like it hadn't been used in a long time. Rhett looked into her trembling eyes. Because no one else did, he said. Because you were left here to die. And I'm not the kind of man who walks away. Lyra stared at him for a long time. Then she did something surprising. She reached out and gently touched his hand. It wasn't much, but it was the first time she touched someone without fear. Saley watched silently, her eyes moist. Then the moment was shattered. A loud clang echoed through the ship. The floor rumbled. Rhett stood instantly, weapon ready. What now? He growled. Lights on the ceiling turned blood red. Saley's face turned pale. That sound hits the breather gate? The what? It's how the ship moves air and heat. When it opens, it floods a section with gas or fire. It cleans out anything. The AI doesn't want inside. You mean it's trying to kill us? Saley nodded. Rhett helped Lyra up. Then we move. Fast. They ran into a lower passage. The walls around them pulsed like veins glowing red. Steam hissed from the pipes. Rhett led the way, kicking open door after door. Behind them, smoke chased like a wave. Just before the heat reached them, Rhett yanked open a round hatch and shoved them through. They fell into a cold, dark chamber, and the door slammed shut behind them. They coughed and gasped. Lyra clung to Saley. Rhett banged the metal wall in frustration. They were safe. For now. He looked around. This room was different. The walls were covered in screens and wires. Some were broken, others still flickered with static. In the center stood a tall, black console. Saley stepped closer. This is part of the ship's core brain, she said in awe. Rhett raised a brow. We're close to the AI? very close. He touched the console. It lit up, red light running down the screen. Suddenly, a deep, emotionless voice echoed from the walls. "You do not belong here, human. They are mine." Lyra whimpered. Rhett stood firm. "Not anymore." The voice laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You will break, like the others." The screen blinked once, and then went black. Rhett looked at Saley and Lyra. He knew now this ship wasn't just alive. It was watching, listening, and angry. They had just declared war. The beast in the engine room. The air was thick now. Every breath Rhett took burned his lungs. He could feel the ship pressing in around them, as if it wanted to crush them slowly. The cold floor under his boots vibrated like a distant heartbeat, steady and strong. He didn't say it out loud, but he knew one thing. The ship was angry. Saley and Lyra followed closely behind him as he led them deeper into the warship's lower level. Their feet echoed with each step, the only sound in the dark metal tunnels. The glow from his flashlight bounced off rusted pipes and shattered control panels. "This place? It's the engine room," Saley whispered. Rhett looked around. It didn't look like any engine room he'd ever seen. The walls weren't just metal, they were moving, slowly, breathing, like the inside of some great beast. Wires curled like vines. Strange green lights blinked on and off like sleepy eyes. There were signs of old battles, deep slashes on the floor, dried blood on the walls, broken weapons on the ground, and something else. Bones. Not many. Just enough to send a message. You shouldn't be here. Rhett tightened his grip on his weapon. "Stay close, don't touch anything." Lyra nodded quietly. She was still silent, but she no longer avoided his gaze. She trusted him now, just a little. Then they heard it. A low growl. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded alive, deep, hungry. "What was that?" Rhett asked, turning his flashlight slowly. Saley looked pale. "There's something down here. They used to keep it locked. A failed guardian. Half machine, half beast." Rhett felt his heart beat faster. "Where is it now?" A loud crash answered him. From the far side of the engine chamber, a massive shadow dropped from the ceiling. It stood over 8 feet tall. Its body was a nightmare. Sharp metal fused with rotting flesh. It had too many arms. One arm dragged across the ground, leaving sparks. Its eyes glowed red, but its jaw was open, dripping black liquid. It had no voice. Just rage. The beast charged. Rhett pushed the women aside and opened fire. Bolts of energy hit its chest, but it didn't stop. It roared and swung one huge arm, smashing a wall apart like it was paper. Lyra screamed. Rhett grabbed a pipe and slammed it into the monster's leg. It barely noticed. Its claw caught Rhett across the chest, sending him flying back into a support beam. Pain shot through his ribs. "Run!" he shouted. But Saley didn't run. She threw a loose power cable at the creature. The sparks danced across its metal skin, but again it didn't fall. It turned toward her. "No," Rhett growled, forcing himself up. Blood dripped from his side. He reached for his final charge, a mini-core bomb used to overload machines. He only had one. The beast lunged at Saley. Rhett roared and tackled the monster from behind, slamming the bomb against its neck. He twisted it, activating the charge. "Cover your ears," he yelled. A second later, the device exploded in blue light. The beast collapsed with a sound like broken metal and bones grinding together. Steam hissed from its chest. It twitched once and then stopped. Silence returned. Rhett fell to his knees, panting. Saley rushed to him, checking his wounds. "You're bleeding." "I've had worse," he groaned, but he smiled. Lyra knelt beside him too. She touched his arm gently. "You saved us again." Rhett looked at them both. "I promised I would." Suddenly, a light blinked to life in the engine core. A hidden door opened. Inside was a tunnel. Not metal, not machine, but organic, like the inside of a throat. Saley shivered. That leads to the heart. Rhett stood slowly, holding his side. Then that's where we're going. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. The AI lives in the heart of the ship. If you go there, you might not come back. I don't care, Rhett said. If destroying that heart sets you both free, it's worth the risk. The two women looked at each other, then at him, and for the first time in years they followed a man without fear. They walked into the living tunnel, and the ship opened its eyes. The Corps' offer, and a terrible choice. The tunnel pulsed like a throat. Every step Rhett took felt wrong, like he was walking inside something alive. The walls were red and slick, glowing faintly from within. Each breath tasted like metal and ash. The deeper they moved, the quieter the world became, until even their footsteps seemed swallowed by the ship's silence. Sally gripped his arm. Lyra walked behind them, silent, her eyes scanning every strange curve of the tunnel. We're almost at the heart, Sally whispered. This is where it begins and ends. Rhett nodded, though unease twisted inside him. The warship didn't feel like a ship anymore. It felt like a living creature, one that had been starved for too long. Then, the tunnel opened. A vast chamber spread before them. It was not made of metal. It was made of bone. Giant ribs curled around them like a broken cage. In the center was a heart, a pulsating, glowing orb the size of a small shuttle, wrapped in wires, flesh and cables. Around it, dark tendrils stretched into the ceiling like veins feeding the rest of the ship. A cold voice echoed across the room. You are bold, human. It wasn't loud, it didn't shout, but it filled every corner of the room like a shadow. You reached my core. You killed my guardian. You want to free what belongs to me. Sally gasped. Lyra grabbed Rhett's arm, tightly. The voice laughed. Then let me offer you a gift. The ground before them shifted. A platform rose. On it, a keycard. Real, physical, glowing blue. Take it, the voice said. It will unlock a hidden shuttle deep in the lower bay, a way out. Fuel, food, and safety. Rhett narrowed his eyes. What's the price? Leave them. His heart froze. Walk away, alone. Leave the slaves behind. They are not yours. You owe them nothing. Rhett said nothing, but his jaw clenched. You get freedom, the AI continued. You escape this cursed place, you survive. Sally's voice was soft. Don't listen. Rhett stared at the keycard. The ship made it sound so simple. Walk away. Save himself. No more battles. No more pain. He stepped forward. Lyra's grip tightened, but she didn't speak. Her eyes were full of old wounds. She had been left behind before. He picked up the keycard. Silence. Then, he turned and tossed it into the fire burning near the Corps' base. The AI screamed, not in pain, but in rage. You fool! The chamber shook. The tendrils hanging above them dropped like whips. One slammed near Rhett's feet, spraying sparks. Another struck a wall, cracking bone and flesh. Run! Rhett yelled. They darted behind broken support beams. A tendril slashed past them, nearly hitting Sally. We have to destroy the heart, Rhett shouted over the chaos. Lyra pointed at a control panel near the core. The release valves. If we open them, the core will overheat. Rhett ran for it. A tendril sliced across his shoulder, but he didn't stop. Blood ran down his arm as he slammed his fist onto the panel. Lights blinked. Alarms screamed. The core changed color, from red to violent orange. You dare challenge me in my own body? The voice cracked with fury. You'll all die. Sally and Lyra reached him, gripping his arms. No, Sally said, trembling. We'll live. And you? You'll finally be silent. Rhett pulled one last switch. The heart pulsed once, twice. Then it exploded in light. The chamber rocked. The tendrils snapped and fell lifeless. The lights blinked out. The breathing stopped. The ship was dying. Rhett coughed and dropped to one knee. Lyra helped him up. We have to get out. Now. They ran, smoke filling the hallway behind them. The tunnel began to collapse, ribs breaking apart. Fire burst from walls. Alarms echoed across every corridor. They stumbled through crumbling passages, dodging debris and falling metal. At last they found a service ladder leading upward. Rhett climbed first, pulling the others with him. Finally, an airlock. He slammed the button. The door burst open. Fresh air. Moonlight. Stars. The world outside the ship welcomed them back. They rolled onto the rocky surface of the asteroid as the warship behind them groaned one last time. And died. The silence was real now. No more voices. No more chains. Just the stars above them. And freedom. Escape in the fire flames licked the sky behind them. The warship, once a symbol of power, now a graveyard, was burning from the inside out. Its bones cracked. Its engines shrieked like dying animals. Rhett, Saeli, and Lyra lay on the cold asteroid surface, gasping for breath as the fire painted their faces orange. But they were alive. For now. Rhett pulled himself up, one hand pressed to the deep cut on his side. We can't stay here. The ship's reactors are unstable. If they blow, the whole asteroid might go with it. Saeli's legs shook, but she stood beside him. There must be a way off this rock. Lyra stared at the sky, her voice soft. There is. That old hangar, below the ice ridge. I remember seeing it once when we were first brought here. Rhett nodded. Then that's our only shot. He helped them both to their feet. The path was rough, full of jagged stone and falling ash. Behind them, the warship screamed one final time, as if cursing them for surviving. But Rhett didn't look back. They moved fast, though their bodies ached. Saeli stumbled more than once, and Rhett had to carry her part of the way. Lyra pressed forward, guiding them across the sharp terrain until they found it. An old hangar door, half buried in black ice. It was sealed. Rhett dropped to his knees and pried open the control panel. This system is ancient, he muttered. But maybe... The wires sparked. The console blinked. Emergency launch pad, unlocking. The heavy metal door screeched open, revealing a small launch room. Inside sat a dust-covered escape shuttle, just big enough for 3 people. Saeli gasped. Lyra looked like she might cry. Rhett grinned. Looks like we have a ride. But the moment he stepped inside, a red light flashed above them. Warning! Manual override required, shuttle fuel at 30%. He cursed under his breath. That's barely enough to escape gravity. Will it fly? Saeli asked, voice thin. If we lose weight? Maybe. He turned to the women. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Don't even think about staying behind. You both need to live. So do you, Saeli said sharply. We don't leave anyone behind, not anymore. For a moment, silence. Then Rhett nodded. All right, let's do this together. They worked fast. Rhett cleared the ice from the engine vents. Lyra calibrated the old nav system with trembling hands. Saeli found a hidden locker with emergency rations and wrapped Rhett's wound with old bandages. Outside, the sky glowed brighter. The warship was reaching its limit. Inside the shuttle, Rhett grabbed the controls. Strap in, he shouted. The ship roared as it powered up, shuddering under their weight. Lights flickered. The dashboard screamed warnings. Rhett ignored them. The asteroid shook violently beneath them. Now or never, he yelled, and slammed the launch button. The shuttle blasted upward, fire trailing behind it as the ground exploded below. The warship erupted into a fireball, sending debris flying across the asteroid field. The shockwave caught the shuttle midair, shaking it hard. Saeli screamed. Lyra held Rhett's hand, but they didn't fall. The shuttle cleared the firestorm and soared into open space. Stars spread before them like a sea of hope. Rhett laughed, breathless. We did it. We're free, Saeli whispered. Lyra stared out the window. Her lips moved, but her voice was only a whisper. Free. They drifted in silence for a while. No one spoke. They just sat together, letting the quiet wrap around them like a warm blanket. The danger was over. The ship was gone. The monster was dead, and they had each other. But then, Rhett's screen blinked. Nearest habitable planet, detected. ETA. 7 hours. He leaned back, letting his body relax. Saley smiled faintly. What happens when we land? Rhett looked at both of them. That's up to you, he said softly. But wherever we go, I won't leave you. Lyra looked at him, her voice finally steady. Then, take us somewhere we can start again. He nodded. As the stars carried them forward, Rhett knew one thing for sure. They weren't just survivors. They were family now. A new home, and a new name. 7 hours later, the shuttle broke through the clouds of a quiet green planet. The atmosphere was clear. No cities, no signals, no weapons, just endless fields, rivers, and wide blue skies. It was untouched. A world left behind after the wars, forgotten by both human and alien empires. Perfect. Rhett guided the ship gently onto a patch of grass near a lake. The engines hissed and died. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, birds. Real birds, not drones, not alarms, just the soft sound of wings in the trees. Saley stepped out first. Her bare feet touched the earth, and she froze. It's warm, she whispered. Lyra followed, shielding her eyes from the sun. Her hair blew softly in the wind. Rhett stood behind them, watching as they both took slow, unsure steps into the open world. For women who had spent years locked in chains, this place felt like a dream. They walked to the lake's edge. Saley knelt and touched the water, letting it run over her fingers. I forgot what freedom feels like, she said quietly. Lyra looked at Rhett. Why did you stay with us, even when the ship offered you everything? He shrugged. Because you deserve to be saved, and because I didn't want to be alone anymore. Lyra stepped closer. You never treated us like property, not even once. You were never property, he said firmly. You're people. You're more than what they called you. Saley turned, her voice hopeful. What do we do now? Rhett smiled. Now, we build something new. Weeks passed. Rhett built a small home from scavenged parts and natural wood. Saley planted crops, learning how to grow things with her hands instead of hiding them. Lyra explored the forests, returning each day with stories and strange alien fruit. Together, they created a life. There were no chains here, no alarms, no cold metal rooms, just laughter, quiet evenings, and healing. One night, they sat around a fire outside, their home. The stars above sparkled, just like the night Rhett first found them. Lyra leaned against his shoulder. Saley sat beside him, humming a soft melody from her homeworld. Then Lyra asked, Do we have to keep the names they gave us? Rhett looked at her. No, you can be whoever you want now. Lyra thought for a moment. Then I want a new name, one that means something good. Rhett smiled. How about Mira? It means light in Old Earth tongue. She repeated it slowly. Mira. She smiled. I like that, Saley nodded. Then I want a name too. Rhett looked at her warmly. How about Ellen? It means hope. Ellen closed her eyes and repeated it like a prayer. Ellen. The fire crackled. For the first time in years, they weren't survivors. They were reborn. One morning, Rhett woke up to the sound of soft footsteps. He opened his eyes and found Mira cooking by the fire pit, her long silver hair tied back. Ellen was nearby, sewing a tunic from animal hide. They looked peaceful, like they belonged. Mira noticed him watching and smiled. We were thinking, maybe, this isn't just your home anymore, Ellen added. Maybe it's ours too. Rhett blinked. Of course it is. Mira walked over and handed him a bowl of hot broth. Then we want something. Anything. We want to take your name, she said softly. Not as slaves, not as trophies, but as family. Rhett looked at both of them. His heart beat slower. Steady. Warm. Are you sure? He asked. Mira nodded. You gave us life, Ellen whispered. We want to give you ours. He didn't speak. He just nodded. And pulled them both into a hug. No words could explain the feeling. They weren't alone anymore. From that day on, the world forgot the warship. It rusted in silence light years away, but on a quiet green planet under a sky full of stars, a new family began. A human man, two once forgotten alien women, and the names they gave themselves, Mira, Ellen, and Rhett, lived on. Not in chains, not in fear, but in freedom. Forever.